So we are, I think we're going live. And is there anyone watching? Zero people watching. So here we are. We've been tackling these technical issues that are squeaking like the computer's full of mice at this point. No solution, Marion. So I don't know what we're going to do about that. But the best laid plans of mice. Ah, it stopped. What did you do? What did you do? I can't hear you. I can't hear anything.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Is there still hissing?
Yeah, when I can hear you, I can hear hissing.
You can hear the hissing?
Oh, not now. Just keep speaking.
Okay, can you hear me and can you hear hissing?
Less hissing at the moment. So, yeah, so
Okay.
these people sent to thwart us. So we do have two people here. Hopefully it's not us two people. So let's just see if this is going live onto Facebook.
So wherever you're watching from, if you would like to just say hello, I'm in Facebook, or hello, I'm at YouTube, or hello, whichever platform you're watching us on, if you could send us a message, and that really helps us to see where you are, so then we can make sure that if you've got any questions, we can find you.
Yes, yay. So it is, we are on Facebook. So hi, everyone. Now the noise seems to have vanished, Marion, so that's good.
Oh, very good.
I don't understand this. I was so organized this time. It's like I set this up mid-afternoon. I actually set it up last night ahead of time, organized it, publicized it, and then pre-set it up just after just before 2 o'clock, so that we would be able to roll smoothly. So I guess one part of trauma healing is like, even though things come up that are really challenging, and we do have people watching. Hello. Let's see, wonderful. We have Teapot Pixie, and we have, can you read? Zoe. Hi, fantastic. Thanks for being patient with us. So, you know, one thing in trauma healing is like, how can we maintain our cool, even though there are all sorts of things kind of flying off that we are not expecting, when we even think we've got it right for once, and then it all falls apart. How can we still like feel good about ourselves and just still manage and show up and do the best? So when we can heal our trauma, then we can be calmer and cope with those things. So
and it never helps us to ever go into anxiety, does it? It doesn't help anything. It's bad for the body, it's bad for the situation, it's bad for other people, and yet it's our go-to mechanism. It's like the worst possible solution, and we all go to it.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's a solution. I think it's just an activation in the body, and the more we can resource ourselves and stay calm, even though it's like it's rising, that anxiety is rising and we're getting tense. It's like, how can we just like feel our bottoms on the seats and feel calm and like, okay, if I do get it wrong, you know, calm, even though, yeah, now my voice is doubling up on me. So, you know, how come all these other presenters have this like really beautiful studio and everything flows perfectly, Marion? I want to be there. I want to do.
Well, you need to stop spending time doing anything else and focus on one thing. And none of us have got the patience or the time to do that.
No, absolutely not. I'm spread between so many things at the moment. There's so much going on. It's hard to keep up with everything. Really hard. But you know, I'm giving it my best shot. I want to put this message out to people, and I want to give everybody the opportunity. So if you're showing up here, this is an opportunity to share what you're going through at the moment, and just to find out that other people might be going through similar things. So I've had some people turn up this week that have been going through hell, and they're not even aware that other people they're not even aware that they're not the only people going through hell. It's like they don't believe in the mainstream narrative, and they thought they were the only people not believing in it.
Wow.
And it's like, I don't even have to do any therapy work just for them to find out that they're not alone is like a huge relief to them.
Yeah, like that you can see their point of view and you respect it, and you shadow, so you may even like reflect some of that point of view. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. But it's been a tough week, and I don't know how other people are feeling, whether this is affecting them. But I think somebody said to me last week, what's going on is going to start kind of turning up on our own doorsteps. And that's been my experience this week. Although all the way through the whole lockdown stuff, I didn't come across one single case, and I still haven't, of anyone suffering from this dreaded lurgy that we're meant to be. I know some people got ill, and I got ill myself, but not in the way like we were told, that thousands upon thousands were dying and the hospitals were overfilled. So that never happened to me. But what is happening to me now is that I'm coming across people that are having severe reactions or dying. And so within one, like the father of a friend died. And my friend's brother was rushed to hospital with a heart condition immediately afterwards. And this week, it was really shocking. 2 days ago, my neighbour from across the road, who I'd normally admired as being a really fit, healthy 77-year-old. I had problems believing she was 77 because she seemed so youthful in her appearance and that. She turned up on my drive 2 days ago with big dark circles under her eyes and like really fragile, and it's like she had some neurological thing going on with her leg collapsing underneath her. And she said, I've just been to hell and back. I said, what's happened? And she said, I had the jab and I had a massive heart. It wasn't a heart attack, but a heart problem. And I was really, really ill. And I called the emergency ambulance. The paramedics came and they wanted to rush me to hospital. And I said, no, don't take me to hospital under any circumstances. Because she was absolutely terrified to go to hospital. And they managed to resuscitate her. They managed to kind of get her back on her feet. And
wow.
Yeah. And it's like, I was in such a state of shock because I'd been talking to her last year. And she said she didn't believe in any of the narrative and that it was like all a scam. And I was really amazed that, this woman that doesn't have much access to the media, the social media or anything, still was coming to that opinion. And yet she went ahead and she had the jab. And I said, well, don't have another one. She said, well, I've had 2 now.
Oh, wow. Did she say what was it that convinced her that it was okay to have it?
Because she said, oh, well, I've got a baby granddaughter and like I want her to be safe. So
what made her think this is so interesting to me? What is it is it just the news? Do they just watch the news and believe immediately that the news is saying you will stop people being safe if you don't have it? Because I've got a friend who her daughter's pregnant and she wants to have the jab so she can attend the birth. And she is absolutely 100% convinced if she does not have it, she will be denied access to the birth and it'll be her own fault.
Yeah, well, I think there's so much misrepresentation of the truth going around in the conditioning that's being put out that a lot of people think that they won't have access to medical facilities. And that brings me to another. On this other call, this group that I attended last night, there was a paramedic actually speaking up, a paramedic whistleblower. And he said he was really distressed. He didn't want to work as a paramedic anymore, that he had sworn an oath to take care of people and that people were being completely abused by the medical profession, and that he was turning up on calls where people were obviously having reactions to this jab. And he was rushing them to hospital. And even at the point when they entered the hospital, the nurses were coming up and immediately shoving something up their nose, whether they wanted it or not. They weren't even asked. And he'd taken this old lady in and she was in such a shock. The nurse came up, shoved this up her nose, and she recoiled. And these big tears were coming down her face. And he felt like he was part of the abuse.
Yeah. And
he said, hospital doctors and nurses, they're losing their humanity and they're not connecting with their oath anymore to do no harm, and they're just acting like automatons.
Yeah.
And they're giving the impression that when people turn up at the hospital that they're not going to get not going to be allowed in, or they're not going to have access to treatment. He said this is completely contrary to the reality, as everybody's legally obliged to have treatment. They can't force you to have things.
So the problem is, and I saw a guy do a home video thing where he just took his phone out at the hospital, and he was, I think he was having the plaster off his arm, or he was having his leg examined for a broken ankle. There was something to do with a broken bone, or a situation that was already an ongoing known situation at the hospital. When he arrived at the hospital, because he didn't have a mask on, they actually would not let him speak to the doctor. So he forced his way past the staff and the nurses. He had to physically force his way past them. And then the doctor screamed at him and locked the door, would not let him in the doctor's room to see him. So even though it isn't legal, they are discriminating. They are physically, emotionally, and psychologically discriminating against what they perceive are the rule breakers, regardless of the law. The law has got nothing to do with any of this. And yet people's behaviour is beyond the law, because their fears are controlling their responses to people, or their reactions to people. And the video this guy made, it was about 2 or 3 months ago now that I saw it, but he physically was screamed. The doctor backed away, screamed and screamed and screamed, told him to get out of the room, and then locked the door.
Wow, that's really extreme.
So exactly. And it was interesting, because this guy stayed so calm. He was amazing. I wish I could remember who it was. He stayed, because it's somebody it's a friend of a friend who did it.
Yeah.
And it'll come back to me. But that video was horrific for people who have to rely on healthcare. I'm in a really weird situation, because the healthcare system is part of what was creating damage to my body a few years ago. And so I have the opposite. I'm actually grateful that I don't get healthcare from the NHS.
Yeah.
But if I broke my wrist tomorrow, I don't think I would be grateful, because I did that a few years ago, and having the plaster on and having it heal and be taken care of was, I know that was a benefit to me. But for people who are still convinced that the healthcare system is there to take care of their health, this is a huge, you've got to play by the rules, or they will stop looking after you.
Well, I think I've been reading some more of this book, Kathy O'Brien's book called Transformation of America, about the MK Ultra mind programming that was done to her, and how her brain was completely compartmentalized. And I can really see...
For the sake of anybody who's not sure who that is, just give us a little bit of background on Kathy O'Brien. So where did this MK Ultra happen to her? What was going on? Why did she become a victim to it?
Okay, well, she was born into a family of generational satanic abuse. So her father had been satanically abused, her grandmother, her back generation.
So it's like a Rosemary's Baby kind of family.
Absolutely. Okay. And she was abused right from the time of birth. Too horrific for me to even it out. And she was terribly abused, and then sold by her father into all sorts of pornographic situations, bestiality videos when she was a little girl, and other child pornography. And then he sold her to the MK Ultra mind control program that was CIA. I think the CIA ran it. So that came out of the Nazis leaving Germany at the end of the Second World War, Operation Paperclip, into America, about 600 Nazis setting up the MK Ultra programs, which is like the foundation for the mind control stuff that's happening around the world now. It's the same techniques that's been played out on the population. So one of the things that happened to her was that she was deprived of any kind of information at all. And she was led to believe a kind of fantasy about her life. So as this mind control programming got more extreme, using electric shocks and so on, amongst other things, she was also told that she was the chosen one, and that she was interdimensional time traveler. But she had nothing to compare this information against, because that's all the information that was ever given to her, alongside all the programming of Disney themes like The Wizard of Oz, Cinderella, Pinocchio, all those Disney themes throughout her childhood. So it's like she was just like totally manipulated. So it's very interesting to see how the same, I mean, it looks kind of innocuous if you're inside it. You can't really spot that that's going on, but that is what's going on. It's like the same tools that have happened that were used on her is being rolled out in the population here, and it's rolled out right at the very top of our systems, like the NHS, the school system, the police system, and so on. And like top management, you know, maybe they suspect, or maybe they're massively mind controlled, and maybe our politicians are mind controlled. And she talks about how she was ongoingly abused, and she had a handler. She was forced to marry her handler that actually kept track the whole time to make sure that she wasn't getting any kind of awareness of what was happening to her. So, you know, I'm just wondering, when I see our politicians like Boris Johnson and Justin Trudeau and so on, they look such a mess.
Well, also, they're all being bribed or blackmailed, whichever way around it is. So it's like, in order for you to reach that high level, someone somewhere has got some big dirt on you so that they can absolutely control you with their blackmail of letting out your big dirty story.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, Boris has been famous for all sorts of disgusting stories in his school days and his college days with his Etonian friends and his university friends, where they're parts of these groups that have initiation ceremonies that are like sexual acts with dead pigs and all sorts of weird things going on. And all of that, in my mind, is just a way of gathering dirt so that you can absolutely control everything he does and everything he says from then on.
Well, that's right. And she talks about this satanic stuff, and it's like as a young girl, she went through her communion, and then following the communion in the afternoon, she had a satanic ritual in the evening, which is the right to, I think it was called the right to silence. So the aim of the ritual was to shock her mind so much that she could never speak about anything. And that included being, it was a satanic blood ritual. And the satanic abuse and sexuality and blood rituals go on and on and on to completely continue shocking the victims of it. And really, we are the victims of the same kind of stuff, because we are put through shock after shock.
Yeah.
And all kinds of traumatic experiences, like being isolated from each other, like being told we're crazy, etc.
Yeah.
So you put in some things up.
While you're talking, I'm just going to make sure that we're on all of the social media areas that we say.
Who's this? Boris was in the, oh, thank you, Teapot Pixie, the Bullington Club. Do you know what that is?
That's what I was talking about, where they have this, it's like, you know, it's the private gentleman's club, if you like, of the college he was at or the school he was at. And it is where, I mean, most of the people in his cabinet were probably from the same thing. That David guy who was the last prime minister, David Cameron. Not David Steele, Cameron.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't play this game. But he was, I think he was in it as well. Teapot Pixie will be able to tell us that. Yeah, so it is just this old boys club. It's got nothing to do with how clever you are, how bright you are, how humane you are. It's all to do with that you will do a weird handshake and you'll stick to some stupid promise to look after your boys in the club beyond looking after anybody else. And then they've got this huge bit of dirt on you that they will humiliate you and they will excommunicate you. And so you'll do anything at any cost to prevent that from happening. You're just a puppet, an absolute out and out puppet.
Yeah. Yeah. So Teapot Pixie says Boris and chums would trash restaurants and get their dads for what?
To pay the damages.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
So it was great fun for them to just be, that's an assumption of total control, isn't it? I can do anything I like and nobody can stop me because it doesn't matter what I do. Daddy will pay my way out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same for her. It's interesting because Kathy O'Brien said she was, one of the things fed to her is that there's no escape out of the situation.
Yeah.
That is something that we feel like there's no escape. They have total control and there's no way out of this.
Yeah.
So that in itself is really traumatizing.
And that's what was important, presumably, for the lady that you were just saying, or the person that you were saying who came to you feeling so shocked that they didn't know anybody else was seeing what they were seeing. And that's that feeling, isn't it? Why is nobody else doing anything about this? But we know, like, you know, hundreds of thousands of people walked past the BBC on Saturday, not one whisper on the BBC. Hundreds of thousands of people outside chanting, not one whisper broadcast of this true situation that was happening outside the door.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that's the light newspaper. I don't know. It's like we're having to make our alternative media. So if you haven't got the light newspaper, you know, I would really recommend this paper that's been put out. And these people who are putting it out apparently are studying mind control as well.
Yeah.
And inside on here, whoop, can't see, the 10 steps of mind control. So they're actually going through.
Where can people get this, Juliet? Where's the best place to get it? Is there a website? What's the thing we can do to help people to get this?
Well, I don't know. It's like these are distributed by people all across the country. I guess I have to find out if there's a...
On the front page there, somewhere in the titles, there'll be a website or I don't know, something.
No, I can't see, but I will.
All right, well, I'll look online while you tell us about that article and I'll put the links in.
Yeah, so, yeah, I just want to say, let me see now. It's the article's about the 10 steps of mind control. Okay, so I've just like broken down some of the steps and just, you know, for people listening here now, just think what's happened to you when, if you haven't been fooled or maybe you were fooled and then you woke up to it or whatever, what was the process that you went through? So the first thing that we've come across is repetition of the same information ad infinitum. So repetition, like, oh, there's a terrible virus and it's going to kill us and millions of people are dying and we have to stay safe. Remember, they made up those words. What were the words, Marion? Stay, you know, the words with that all rhyme up that give this.
Oh yeah, like stay. So it was, what was it? Mask, vax, I don't know, something.
I don't know, because I tried not to listen to it because those are hypnotic suggestions that they.
Yeah, we've done a good job of not taking it on, haven't we?
Oh my God!
No idea.
There's a part of the brain connected with the hearing, the something loop, that gets these words when they put them together in particular sound bites, that they penetrate into the brain and they stay there. Yeah. So they didn't stay in my brain, thank God.
No, me too.
I didn't want to hear it and I didn't want to look at it, so I avoided doing all those things. But repetition, every available channel, they're repeating and repeating and repeating these same instructions.
They do it on the train, don't they? See it, say it, sorted.
Yeah.
You see anything suspicious, see it, say it. And since I very first heard that, I've just gone, oh, building fear. They're building fear. That's all they're doing. They're building fear.
Yeah, building fear. And that's on the back of the whole 9/11, which was also another total scam, where they brought in the whole terrorism idea.
Yeah, this is the inescapable enemy.
Yeah, the inescapable enemy, and it's even more sophisticated now because the inescapable enemy is a very deadly illness that if we don't inject ourselves with a lethal shot that will kill us anyway, we're going to die. So, you know, you can see how that's been actually put in people's minds for decades. Yeah, total decades. And
the saddest thing for me was when I said to my friend, I said, if I were, because I could see that she didn't want to hear what I was going to say, because she'd chosen this, and in her mind, she'd made her mind up. This was her truth. And I said, there is some information that I think would be really useful to you to understand or to know a little bit more about. If I send you some links to videos and articles, would you be prepared to look at them? And she said no.
Yeah, exactly.
She just said no instantly. And I actually haven't seen her since that day. And strangely, she would normally have contacted me by now, and she hasn't. And I am going to say to her, I actually felt so disrespected by your response to my reaching out just with information, that I don't want to spend time with you at the moment, because your rejection of my friendship, I've taken it seriously. I have actually taken it seriously, because I don't want to be around somebody that is that out and out prepared to trust the people who hire Jimmy Savile over me, because that's how I see it.
Well, then that's our reaction comes in, because that's a threat to us when people we love then rejects us. I mean, a lot of people are having that with either their children and their parents are rejecting them in that way because their parents are going along with the narrative, or mothers, fathers, and their children are rejecting them. Like all my friends my age, their kids are saying, somebody quoted me the other day as their children said, "I don't believe in anything that you believe in, Mum. I don't hold the same values as you." And these are often children that have grown up, that have been really kind of had a really good relationship with their parents and given a lot of opportunity for critical thinking and so on. And now they've gone down that path. So my feeling is like maybe the mind control programming is specifically targeting people, specific age groups, specific mindsets and social backgrounds with a specific set of information for them. That's what I'm really curious for people here listening. You know, if you've got any feedback on that, I'd really like to know. Because there's a very evil agenda behind here. It's not just random. This is based on the whole satanic stuff coming out of Nazi Germany. And the people that funded Nazi Germany are the people that funded.
Where was it? Do you know where it was before what we call Nazi Germany? Where did it come from to get into that? Do you know?
Well, as far as I understand, it's the whole Rockefeller stuff and the Illuminati with those families that have that want to control the population, genocide. So the, like the Rockefellers. Mm-hmm. You go back, like how
so then you talk about them. I always go, you're going back like Crusades and all that kind of
you're going back,
aren't you?
Crusades. And I think that film by what was it called? Oh, that was so shocking when she did it, the Dutch woman.
Oh, Janet Oosterbaarden or whatever she's called.
Something like that. And what was it called? The Fall of the Cabal.
Fall of the Cabal, yeah.
Yeah, I think that film woke people up massively this year.
What I really love, there's a guy, we talk about him all the time, don't we? Michael Tellinger. Michael Tellinger's got the most amazing videos where he talks about the installation of money as a process, as a technology into humanity. And he says that money is an off-planetary technology, and it is an absolute enslavement tool, out and out, 100% enslavement tool. But because the enslavers have no understanding or appreciation of the strength of human will and humanity with heart, they've got no idea how humanity can actually create a possibility to enslave the enslavers by understanding enough about money to use it to create wealth throughout every human on the planet, which would then enslave the system rather than the system enslaving the people. And he's got this beautiful inversion of this enslavement tool. And obviously his way of rolling it out would be the one small town, which is something that is on my, I'm currently allowing the powers that be in my reality of powers, not these false powers. I'm setting intentions that I will be able to connect with Michael Tellinger and connect with the group that we're connected with, which is the Wealth Creation Group, and bring those two organizations together. This is a really, really powerful intention of mine.
Absolutely. And my sense is like, no matter how demonic this program is, and that it's overruled humanity for all these generations, that humanity always has this incredible creativity and ability to rise above.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to see, you know, over 1 million, maybe 2 million people gathered in London last weekend.
Yeah.
And surrounded the BBC and chanting "Shame on you."
Yeah.
To the BBC, and yet the BBC didn't record that. And in France at the moment, there are these incredible demos where people are just turning up and playing music and
like an orchestra arrives at the train station and everybody dances. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Absolutely, with this beautiful song, which our friend Brigitte has translated.
She translated it, gorgeous.
Yes, and I can't remember what the words are. Like, we will embrace our friends. We will dance. We will sing. You can't stop this happening.
Yeah,
it's just absolutely spontaneous and beautiful, and happening all over France at the moment.
And in a way, from a very spiritual perspective, isn't it possible for us to recognize that the darker the dark, the brighter the light it will actually encourage?
Absolutely.
So it's like, bring it on. But most of me does not want to say this, but there's a bit of me like, well, just bring it on, because we're going to sort this. We're going to shine so brightly. This will be easy soon for us to just go, oh yes, bring on your mind control. Watch what humanity can do as a result of learning how.
Absolutely, which is why I think it's important the Light newspaper has put those 10 steps of mind control for us to realize that it's like, we've tried all the stuff, like trying to tell your friend these are the facts, and she says no, and stuff like that. We can't get through with facts and information. So recognizing that this mind control thing is happening, and when we can see that, then maybe we can actually begin to
one way to break the spell is actually to have fun in public. Show your joy. And people are like, how the hell can you be joyful with all this shit going down?
Yeah.
Easy, watch me dance, watch me sing.
Yeah.
Hashtag say no to the prick. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And this weekend was a wonderful demonstration of that. So yeah, just looking at these 10 steps of mind control, so maximum exposure to lies and minimum exposure to the actual truth. So when we're trying with words, we can't get the truth out because they're already trying to block us with all the censorship. But if you're on the streets, like you're saying, and dancing and saying, saying no, hashtag no to the prick, and dancing and all those things, it's like that mind control doesn't work in that instance.
No.
And then then the next step is like calling truth hate speech.
Wow. Well, this is all the divisive, isn't it, stuff with race and sexuality and politics and football teams and any sort of competition or sport has instantly got that ability, isn't it? The other side, it's the other side. We hate the other side. It's so easily bought into because we're trained just by fucking football or tennis or something.
Yeah. And that, like, they've already set the whole thing up with Facebook and things like that. When you even just quote the government's own statistics, then Facebook says, oh no, you're banned because this is hate speech.
Yeah.
It's like you absolutely can't get the information out there now that 1 in 16 people are suffering severe injuries or dying from this injection. It's like they won't let you put the statistics anymore.
And that's the truth.
Yeah, that's the truth. And
being censored.
That's the truth being censored, and suggesting that truth, this is another thing they do, suggesting that truth is terrorism. So if you're speaking the truth, you're a terrorist. So they're aiming. So if you're trying to stand up, they're aiming that you're really bad and that people attack you. So it's they roll out the systemic fabrication, false conspiracy theories. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're mad if you're trying to speak the truth.
I've worn that badge with pride for a few years now, conspiracy theorist. I always say, oh, thank you for noticing. Wow, that's great. I love to be associated with that label because it's people who I know who are actually in integrity are happy to have that label because we see what it is.
So Mel Kay, another American truther who's got a program, she's an amazing woman as well. She's now calling it a conspiracy analyst. I'm a conspiracy analyst. I'm looking at what the
nice.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the other thing they do, is making truth. They mock. They're training people. I mean, I've had this from my children, like being mocking or contemptuous of my ideas because, oh, you're some loony. Oh, mum, you're some loony. And you take it personally, especially when it's from your family.
Yeah.
But like when you recognize, okay, well, these words have been put into my children's mouths.
Yes.
They've been put into your friend's mouth.
Yeah.
And to have some kind of compassion actually for what's going on there.
But also to give them back that responsibility for taking those words and putting them on me. She's known me 50 years. Like, how can a relationship of 50 years be worth so little to her? Because that's where I'm not prepared not to say that. And I did say it at the time, but I think it was in the evening when we were speaking, emotions were too high. But it was just like, so your value of our relationship is nothing. You put no value on your relationship with me. So I'm not partaking in a relationship that's valueless to you, because actually your relationship with me is very valuable. And if I feel that I'm just being completely disconnected from, I will disconnect. I respect your need to disconnect from me enough. I will disconnect, which is what I've had to do because. Yeah.
Well, you have to take care of yourself.
Exactly.
Because if you don't, then that your own nervous system is derailed, and then you do get mental health problems.
Yeah.
So organized outrage at any expression of truth. So really turning the population against you. And then, as you've seen, it happened to the doctor in France that was
Julian Assange before all of this.
Yeah.
Julian Assange. And they know that he was just putting out, all he was doing was exposing real documents. All he ever did was expose real documentation, real information. All he ever did was he showed stuff that was there already.
Yeah, absolutely. So the number of people like Judy Mikovits. Yeah. So she just innocently produced her research that the retroviruses from mice that they were putting into these substances they were injecting into people were causing massive illness. And she was innocently producing that research. And then Fauci just got her put in prison and said that she was a liar.
He's been caught on camera in the last few weeks with so many contradictory statements and stories.
Yeah.
Still bare-faced lies to the camera. He looks straight down the barrel of the camera and totally contradicts what he said 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And saying there was no funding for the research.
There's no relationship to China and
Yeah, well, they weave it in all sorts of ways. So if the money goes into some charity, which of course we know these charities are not charities anymore, like the Hillary Clinton charities and all the child trafficking on Haiti and so on, where all the children were stolen. Yeah, so I've stopped giving money to charities, even though once I was working in that kind of way myself out in Africa. But, so yeah, punishment and bribery for tellers of truth.
Well, this is what's happening with them. There's a lot of famous television
tellers of lies, sorry, not tellers of truth.
Yeah, there's a lot of television people. I saw a sporty one the other day about getting back to football, and there's like 10 or 15 I don't know who any of them are because I don't have a television, but these were really, really famous football-y people all telling you, have your jab and don't be so stupid as to consider anything else. Just have your jab and don't be stupid. And every single one of them said the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, they've been putting all sorts of people up to. I was speechless. You know, the three presidents who all simultaneously rolled their sleeves up. Who was it? Obama, Clinton, and Biden. I don't know which, but you know, whether it was even a real needle, I don't know. But Eric Clapton has come to the forefront now with his.
Yeah, he had a terrible time, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's a really big reaction to the jab. Yeah, because they had when they did that first concert last year, right at the beginning of all of this, they did a big concert, didn't they? And that Lady Gaga and a few other people were in it. And I think Eric Clapton was in that concert. So he was part of the whole thing right at the beginning. Let's publicize the pandemic. Let's make sure everybody knows it's a problem. Let's make sure that, you know, everybody's really fucking scared, and we'll do it to music. And I think he was part of that right at the beginning.
Yeah, so he must...
For him to come out and, you know, so sad that he's gone through this and had this awful reaction, but thank God it didn't kill him and he's able to tell the story now.
Yeah, so he's an example of somebody waking up then, isn't he?
Yeah.
But interestingly, why did he go ahead and have it, even though just before...
He was in the story. He was an actor. He was a player in the story. That's what I'm saying about this whole concert that they put on. It was like Live Aid. It's like Live Aid. How many times could we have fed everybody in Africa just with the money they've spent on fucking PPE?
Yeah, absolutely.
No. And they're still going, you know, and people still think Live Aid was real, like really trying to look after African people. Nonsense. It's about this programming.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so where have you been programmed? If you're listening, like, we have to do our own trauma healing. Where do we get hooked in? Where is our own programming? Because we're all, you know, there are places where our power has been taken and we're hooked into this. And it's
well, things like our musicians, the musicians that you love, the actors that you love, anybody that's given a prominent position in the media that we've then become a fan of, or like Disney or a channel or Coronation Street or all of those things, they are all part. It's like nothing has been untouched. Nothing is sacred. Nothing is sacred. Everything is contaminated. There is nothing without contamination. And we all have our favorites. You know, We've all got our favorite people, our favorite singer, our favorite actor, our favorite dancer, our favorite artist, we've all got them. But everybody who's been allowed a prominent role on the media has been hooked in some way, otherwise they would not be prominent in the media. Consciously or unconsciously, I don't know. But you will never reach a prominent place in the media unless you're hooked into that fear program.
Absolutely, and that's the whole demonic thing as well, because it's all actually planned out, and it's like there's been centuries of study of the human psyche and how to traumatize human beings, and one of the biggest traumatizing things in human beings is separating us from each other.
Yeah.
And this whole mind control is predicated on the fact that we need to feel that we belong, that we connect. And when they get us into a connection with somebody, like as a child with who's the little girl with the red shoes, the satanic red shoes in The Wizard of Oz?
Oh, Dorothy.
Dorothy, yeah. So when that was the mind control of Kathy O'Brien going on the yellow brick road. That was like the main focus of the mind control, and giving a pair of red shoes at her pair of red shoes, was it, or was it the Rose Cross? But they link it in psychologically. They link it in, and we linked in, and kind of hooked in, a bit like ducklings, you know.
Yeah. So the imprint.
The imprint. So we imprint. It's like, oh yes, I resonate with this star in this film, or this fairy tale.
And the signal of the screens is precisely set to create the imprint. It is precisely the wavelength fluctuation, what's it called? Frequency. The frequency of wavelength is precisely set to imprint on a record everything mode.
Yeah.
It's so precise, and it's been done. Cinema did it. Television is even more precise for its frequency size, the wavelength size. It is absolutely to the nanometer organized to create the deepest imprint in the human mind. Yeah.
So just think who's your hero, heroine? Where are you getting hooked in? And you might just have to throw that person out in order to be free.
Yeah.
You might just have to fucking well throw everything out and turn every stone over and check everything out, because if we don't do this at this point, Yeah, we're done for.
And this is what screws people up as well, isn't it? Because, you know, like one of my best friends loves Madonna. And I remember mentioning Tom Hanks, and she was like, oh, no, I love Tom Hanks. I went, I did as well. And then one day she said to me, you're going to mention Madonna, aren't you? And I just went, I'm not going to say anybody. She went, you fucking are. You're going to mention Madonna. Oh, my God, I can't believe it. And I just said to her the same thing. Anybody who's been allowed to be famous.
Yeah, well, I was really tested the other day because the one person that I've always held as a, you know, I look up to is the Dalai Lama. And I did come across something.
Allowed to be famous.
Exactly. And I did have my suspicions recently when I think, did he just get jabbed?
He's been definitely promoting it.
Yeah. So when I came across that recently, I thought, oh, no. And then I was challenged by somebody very close to me who was saying, oh, you've been very angry this year and you've totally changed and you're not the person I think you used to be. And I said, yeah, because I'm really having to look at things. And there are people that I believed in that maybe, you know, I shouldn't believe in now. And then they challenged me and they said, oh, so don't tell me you're thinking the Dalai Lama might not be. And I went, oh, my God, how did that person know that? But yeah. I'm questioning the Dalai Lama, and it's like...
And so there's where the ridicule then comes in. Oh, Juliet. Oh, poor little you. Imagine thinking the Dalai Lama was a baddie. Oh, how silly of you.
Yeah, exactly. And then it goes the other way when I just mention the Dalai Lama, and I think, oh, God, Marion already knows about this, and she'll be thinking, Juliet, didn't you know about that already?
No, I know. It is hard, isn't it? That superiority thing is really big for me at the moment. It keeps coming up. Like the idea of feeling of superiority or the feeling of inferiority, it's just the disconnect energy. It's just that disconnect program that keeps popping up. Some of us are really great at all of us are really great at what we are really great at. And other people are great at other things. There's no superiority. You can't compare a cat and a fish. You can't. So why, you know, for us to feel superior, we are comparing the cat to the fish. Well, the fish is a superior swimmer and the cat a superior scratcher. Well, of course, you know, but this idea of, oh, you know, I don't want to say, oh, people they think I'm stupid. We're turning the humiliation on ourselves. Yeah. We're running the program for them at that point, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's just go back and have a little look. Somebody might be wanting to chat and I haven't put anything up. So let's just see who's here. You've put a link for the night.
I put the link for the light paper. So Teapot Pixie said, Lenin said you can control the masses with slogans. I also loved Janet Easterbarder, or whatever she was called. I should remember her name.
Ossenbard,
that's right.
Yeah.
Which does that not mean bird song? Ossenbard.
I don't know. I have no idea, but it.
Osso, is that not like oiseau in French? Which
was,
is I don't know. I just made that up. If that's true, I'll be so happy. But she said, I think it was her that said it. Their symbols will be the downfall. Their symbolism will be their downfall because they ascribe to the symbolism so powerfully. They allow the symbolism to be a really, it's like a foundational aspect of their process. So they cannot ignore, or they cannot go against, or they cannot withdraw the symbolism. And that symbolism is becoming more and more clear every day. And the more we see it, the more we, you know, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Things like, you know, the Walls Ice Cream logo is actually a paedophile, I prefer little girls logo, and all of these symbols that they've been using that are all around us all the time. Once you start to recognize that, that's when you see it everywhere. And then recognizing the fact that if anybody's allowed to be famous, if they're allowed a big stage, they're definitely, consciously or unconsciously, they're in it. They're in the system for that, you know, negative satanic stuff. And so it's not only about the slogans, but the symbolism, which I think is like, you know, it's just another aspect of sloganism, or maybe the slogans are an aspect of symbolism, but kind of goes together, doesn't it? And it's used to control, but it's also when you awaken to what it is, then you start to really awaken to how it's everywhere. It's just everywhere.
absolutely everywhere. Yeah. And then it's like, first of all, when I started seeing the Pope, it's like, surely not. But then it's like the Pope, Kathy O'Brien saying the Vatican, and it's like the American government and the Pope are totally hand in hand. And that's what she was indoctrinated with all the way through, that the CIA are working on, the Vatican is the main controller. And yeah. So Janet Ozenbard, that film, when a friend of mine started watching it, and she was saying, "Oh, I'm, there's all these children in the tunnels, and the human trafficking and the child pornography." It's like, come on, that's nuts. And and she says, "Oh, I've got to watch the sequel to The Fall of the Cabal." I've just got this big tail going across the screen.
She knows it's time. She gives me about an hour, and then she goes, "I'm coming for you." I don't know if you can see her.
Yeah, I can see
her. Beautiful. You can see her arse. There you go. She's lovely. She's showing you her arse.
Yeah, it's a bit like Simon Parks, who's always got his cats in his videos.
You've had an hour. It's time for me.
It's time for me. Yeah.
She's so lovely. She's so great to stroke.
Well, tell her we've got another 10 minutes. She has to just hang on, though.
I know. So we've got a question here, and I like this because it's similar to what we're talking about now. So do either of you two ladies have an opinion on QAnon, Trump, where Trump is the savior? I've got friends that swear by it, but I think it's just another mind control cult movement. So what I say is Q was a great source of questions and information to trigger research. Yeah. So I see it definitely as a psychological operation, a psyop, but actually it was inviting you to go and find out about things. It was inviting discussion. It was inviting debate, inviting investigation. QAnon is the group of people who do the investigating and the discussing. That's how I see it. So QAnon is just a group of people who follow Q, but they've kind of turned it, they give it more meaning than some really fucking brilliant questions. To me, Q just gave brilliant guidance to questioning and investigation. That's how I see Q. When it comes to Trump, I don't believe any one human is a savior, but I do think he's playing an important role in a very clever game. But I also know a lot of the games he plays are based on business principles that I think are quite abhorrent. For example, the pipelines and things like that. Now, but I'm making it a very simplistic, very black and white story about the oil pipelines. But one of the things that it's come into my mind recently, what I've recognized recently is, because he is very businessman, very in that system, in the old patriarchal way, he's still in that way, but he's about independent, everybody could be a billionaire, American mindset. So everybody should be allowed. And what's happening, I sense at the moment with the whole, Klaus Schwab, whatever his name is.
Schwab, yes.
Anal Schwab, him and his gang. And I think he's connected to the sort of Illuminati space, if you like. And they want total destruction of everything in the world from a financial, from a social perspective, so that they control absolutely everything and we are enslaved only to them. Trump's not on that side. He wants people to be able to be independent business people. And so even though I don't agree with all his business ethics and his position on how the globe should be treated and we should stop abusing the globe, I have a lot of differences about that. But I see his desire to maintain this, I'm a normal person and I can become a very successful business person. I like that.
Yeah.
And I also really like the fact that he started doing all the investigation into the trafficking and the satanic ritual abuse and all of that stuff. He's gone in there. He's gone into that dirt and he's in there. So I love that about him. But I also really dislike many other things that he does. So he ain't no savior to me, but he's a very good player. He's a very, very good player on a lot of fronts.
Yeah, I think ultimately, if we're relying on a savior, then we're not in our power. And the healing of this, the healing of trauma, is that you step into your own power and you actually feel that as an embodied sense. You actually feel, you know, I often work with people when they're telling really distressing information, getting them to stand up and walk and to feel the power in their legs, because trauma is when you're actually disempowered and you lose the connection with yourself.
Yeah.
So not to look upon anyone as a savior.
And we know Trump has got a lot of trauma, don't we?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because when we're traumatized, it's like what we want more than anything is for somebody to rescue us. When we're healing, we feel our own power and we're out for self-determination. I can be really successful. My life is under my control and I can do what I choose to do. So that I see this massive polarization going on. It's like the whole thing with the mind control is to shut down information and to make people feel powerless, to indoctrinate them, to mind control them, that they've got no say and there's no way out of this situation. And how I see the QAnon thing, as you said, is that, I mean, I didn't know what the fuck all that was about. And now I'm labeled as a QAnon supporter. It's like, you know, like one of my therapists at Healing Water saying, I don't want anything to do with you because you're, and I said, what the fuck? What is she talking about? But anyway, you know, this is the stuff that's been put out by the media. This is the labeling that's put on, like conspiracy theorist or QAnon supporter, if you're trying to stand up for your own sovereignty, which is what I always support. This is what my work is about, sovereignty, our own self-power. And so what I see as Q is that it's asking questions, as you say, Marion. And the more we look and we ask questions, the more we open up our reality. Well, the mind control is don't ask any questions. If you do, you're speaking hate speech, or you're a terrorist, or you're
or ridicule.
Yeah, we're going to punish you. So I don't see that QAnon is bad because they're encouraging questions and they're doing the opposite to the mind control. And I don't see Trump as being bad, although I was mind controlled into thinking he was a terribly evil guy in the beginning with all the CGI video creation and so on, of him being like saying really disgusting things, which they can make anybody appear to say anything or do anything.
Yeah.
You know, don't believe on anything. Don't believe in us. We're just a figment of your imagination. Just go away and think for yourselves about things. Explore.
One of the slogans that's lovely from the whole Q and QAnon is this: where we go one, we go all. I really, that speaks to my heart. You know, this whole thing about the them and the us. That's the thing, the disconnect. That is the thing, the problem. Because if we recognize unity, if we recognize the power in the unity, if we recognize the unity in humanity, then so much would be healed in that recognition. And I think that slogan, where we go one, we go all, is a really beautiful slogan, because taken superficially, it can be a little bit them and us, and just how to bridge that gap, but that's not what it's about. On a spiritual level, it really is about the unity of everything, and that speaks to that for me.
Absolutely. So we've only got a couple of minutes left, and so self-determination is really important. And the UK, there's this video has just been made, UK Alliance, Natural Health Alliance, Your Right to Know campaign. There's a beautiful video, a powerful video on there that's counteracting some of the conditioning that's going on. And that they're rolling out at this moment in schools, conditioning for the children to get them to accept the jab. I mean, really horrific conditioning, telling the children in the schools that if you don't have the jab, then you're a conspiracy theorist and you're the same as the flat earthers. I mean, that's actually in the documentation that's now being given to children. I just saw a video of it last night. It's really shocking. So don't underestimate what the government are rolling out. And also they're rolling out for teachers in schools that teachers have to spot children that come from anti-vax or anti-mask family and flag them up as terrorists.
Yeah.
So
you're getting your school records marked.
Yes, there's massive indoctrination. But meanwhile, there's a big movement going on. So this is interesting. This is the awake map. So you can go onto this map and you can find people around the UK who are awake, and it's safe places you can go and
So we can put these links up underneath the video on YouTube and on Facebook. I'm not sure if I haven't even looked on Twitter today.
No, I don't know either, but I'll post.
Sue Chippendale. Hi, Sue. It's okay that you're late, but you've missed it all. You'll have to watch the replay.
Oh, where is she?
Sue Chippendale in Facebook.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, do watch, Sue. It's lovely to have you on the show here. And then we've got a download put out by... So this is a PDF for headmasters to send out to headmasters. So another thing I heard this week was the conditioning of teachers to spot in their training. They're spotting which children, as I said, come from anti-injection families. And this is a PDF that you can send to the headmaster of those schools. Because the person that told me said the headmaster of her child's school was really, really distressed that he had to roll out this training to his teachers because he was trying to turn off the mask mandate to stop it happening in the school. Yeah. Now he's telling his teachers that they've got to spot children that don't like the mask, so they can be flagged up as terrorists.
Wow.
So anyway, that's it. There's a huge movement. Turn up for the next demo and dance and have some fun, or come to Glastonbury.
It's a really big one organised in June. There's a date in June. I'll get more details about it. I've got some friends that have been talking about it to me. So yeah, the next really big date where there's going to be multi-city organised events.
Yeah.
The date's been set, and I think they're trying to keep it offline. So yeah, if you want to know, you'll have to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. And a must, this was my delight last night to discover this, which was English. Oh, if I put it up for
yeah, English 909 on radio on Telegram.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So it's a whole radio program that's for freedom fighters, and that they have some really cool music, and they give some uplifting information, sharing lots of information. So you know, you're not alone. You're not alone. If you believe in the mind control or have believed in it, it's breaking down. It's crashing down dramatically. You're not alone. We're all standing up, stepping out. And, yeah, power to you. Power to the people.
Power to the cat's tail.
So lovely to have you, Sue. Oh, hang on. What's Sue saying here? Some are saying many are campaigning in London after the 29th protest. Yeah.
Camping.
Oh, campaigning.
Camping.
Yeah.
So bring your tent.
So, yeah, my fantasy is that in front of the BBC, there's a non-stop dancing, hugging, celebration. That's what I want to see happening. And it's like,
we get some real speakers that shake the building so that they can't ignore us.
Yeah, wake up!
So we'll hear the reggae beat on the 9 o'clock news.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
We'll have Bob Marley singing One Love.
Yeah, I think they've done that outside of Parliament as well at different times. They've
totally fenced off Parliament now. Did you see?
Have they?
Yeah, they've put, you know, the way they did it around the White House, big boards, not even fencing, just boards. Apparently, I saw last week, I haven't been down there, so I don't know for sure, but I saw last week somebody had put some photographs up, and they've just boarded up all around Parliament.
Oh my God!
Totally.
I wonder if, like, apparently the White House, they were holding criminal courts in there, and there's a
lot of weird stories. So you just, do you know what I have to do, Juliet? Just have to keep remembering to name that I don't know the source, and I've kind of heard these things, but I don't know. It's easy to share what I know my truth is. It's easy to share what I intuit, but it's also very easy to share information somebody gave me and I don't know how true it is. So I want to call it every time.
Yeah.
I want to say, I don't know, actually. I don't know that this is the truth. I don't know.
No, but there's a lot of weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stay focused. Try and think for yourself. Question what you're thinking.
Feel your feet on Mother Earth. Pacha mamita, she's here, you're standing on her or you're sitting on her. She's your partner. So appreciate your partner.
Yeah. And, you know, if you need some support and some help, then do go to Marion or do come to Healing Waters in Glastonbury or do come on my trauma skills training happening 5th and 6th of June, but it's almost, amazing, but it's almost filled up. So we'd have to put you
Well,
on.
let's have it so that you have to find a bigger space. Let's get it over full. Everyone needs it.
Yeah. So lots of love. Brilliant speaking to you. Thank you, Marion. If we do this with our heads, put your head to the side. No, the other way.
Here we are. Do this. Do namaste. There we go.
Could you do the heart?
Oh yeah. How would you do that? There you go.
Okay.
Yay! Almost. You nutter.
What's the? Hang on. One last message. What's the?
Marion's site. You find me on Facebook, Marion Bevington. You'll find me on Facebook there, and I've got a site, but I don't keep my websites up to date. I've got to be honest, far too busy on social media to be doing websites these days. You'll find me. You can YouTube me. I've got some crazy videos on YouTube as well. There's a nice selection of stuff on there. Oh, my favourite one at the moment is called "I Am Possessed," and I talk about the hive mind and the egregore and all that good stuff. Very interesting video.
And Find Your Why. There is a link to you underneath this.
Oh video. Yeah, Find Your Why Foundation. FindYourWhyFoundation.com is the business website. Yeah.
Yeah. And another question is Beving from?
Bevington. Bevington.
Okay.
Jewish, that name, apparently. It's my dad's stepdad, it was. And apparently he was Sam Bevington and he was Jewish. I didn't know I had a Jewish name. That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Multicultural. That's me.
Okay, so the cat must be getting really in distress now because we're almost 2 minutes.
Scratching the carpet now. She wants her dinner.
Okay, all right. So we'll let the pussycat have her dinner, and lots of love to everybody.
All right then.
See you next Wednesday.
Bye.
Okay, bye.